Hey Nora, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Well, thanks for joining me on Indispensable Appraisers podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thanks for joining. So, where you call from? What do you do? All that good stuff.
Well, my name is Nora Derian, and I'm a senior director at Cogito Realty Partners. We're a boutique bi-coastal firm with a team in New York City and a team out in Southern California. I'm actually based out of Jersey, so a fake New Yorker, but I do work in both offices. I do a bit of both in terms of litigation support in the right-of-way space and also in the more traditional lending space for financial institutions.
Oh, cool. So, on the valuation space and our industry in general, what do you think we're winning at, if anything?
I think we are winning in certain spaces. On one hand, I hate to say something as simple as technology, but our use of technology either through different types of software or codes that appraisers have written themselves just for their own work. The databases we use to search in have definitely helped us provide more credible and efficient appraisals to our clients in a shorter period of time. But also in the sense of technology, people are afraid of AI potentially taking over, and I'm not naive enough to think that it can. It certainly can do that for any job, but what makes a good appraiser really is not taking just information from the internet and plugging it into a report and sending it out to a client. If that is what I was doing, then maybe I would be concerned about AI taking over. But what makes a good appraiser is how deep we go into our research. We're professional researchers. So unlike the stock market, which is really more of a quote unquote perfect market, everything's happening in real time. Hypothetically, everyone has the same access to information. Real estate, on the other hand, is the complete opposite. Every transaction has a very unique story behind it, whether it's through creative financing or the buyer has other properties in the nearby vicinity and is willing to pay a premium. That sort of information is not available online. One, because brokers and buyers are not really motivated to publish that information publicly, but also because it would take forever if each transaction had a full story behind it. So what makes a good appraiser is also what makes the algorithm unable to really replicate what an appraiser can do. So I see us winning in that sense. Also, I would say slowly but surely, emphasis on the slowly, the new generation of appraisers who are coming in are from a different demographic, let's say, from the older generation. So as we're really working to raise public awareness as to who appraisers are and what we do. I mean, in many of my classes, other students I would meet were either children of appraisers or married an appraiser, and that's kind of how they fell into it. And I don't blame them for that. I've tried to get my family members to become appraisers, but it's going to be hard to raise more public awareness if it's all coming from the same family tree. So it's nice that we're kind of pulling from different pools, and more people are getting involved, and that's actually helping our name get out there. So it
That's,
probably won't materialize for about a decade at least, but slowly but surely we're getting there.
that's funny. Married an appraiser. Sounds like a Netflix show. You said they're different on different demographics. Do you think what are they bringing differently? You said that the new people's and new, and granted it's slow, but what do you think they're going to bring that's different? Whether it takes a decade to play out, what is that they're
I
bringing?
I think the general local knowledge from different areas will certainly help, especially as a lot of appraisers are facing backlash in terms of bias or preconceived notions. If the appraisers are coming from those areas where we're getting backlash on, then that's like less likely to be the case. Also, anytime you have a new perspective in place, that's an opportunity for a process to be improved. So it can make our entire profession really more efficient overall, or new concepts we haven't thought of yet.
Cool, cool. And so, what do you think our industry's greatest challenges are?
So obviously there's room for room for improvement. Um, I think across the board over the past few years, fees have been really low. I mean, we do well when the market's doing well because there's a ton of transactions. We also typically do well when the market's not doing well and there are a lot of foreclosures, unfortunately. But The past few years was like a true standstill. And, I haven't lived through that many economic cycles, but I've heard so many times that, no one has ever seen anything like this before. So it was really tough for everyone. And we've had a hard time raising fees in general over the past, couple of decades from what I've heard. Of course, I haven't been doing it for that long. But this really exasperated it. We would have situations where we're bidding for a job up here and we're in a group of other appraisal firms that were also bidding in that range. And then there would be someone who comes in at, half that fee. And, what goes into a bid is how much time you think you're going to spend on it, the level of expertise required in order to provide a credible value. And if someone is willing to do it at half the price, you do get what you pay for. Luckily, we have a lot of clients who really value our quality as opposed to just the cheapest bid, but sometimes it's out of their hands. So it was really, it was like self-sabotage or cannibalistic, I guess, towards our own profession in that like the true opposite of price fixing. We're discounting way too much in terms of the quality of work that we're putting out there.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of appraisers can agree with that. Why do you think appraisers do that? Why do they crazy low ball on
I
occasion?
I mean, on one hand, I understand everyone has to put food on the table, so it does make for a competitive space. On the other hand, I've spoken to some older appraisers about this, and they mentioned that because we have technology now, it's a lot faster when we're doing the appraisal process, but every other job now uses technology. Attorneys use more technology, accountants use more technology. Their fees are going up, so I don't see why ours should remain stagnant in that case.
That's a great point.
Yeah, I don't know. We know how to value everything else. We just don't know how to value ourselves in our own time, I guess.
That's
A
funny.
little ironic.
That was the name of one of a couple of podcasts ago. That's what the guy said.
Oh yeah.
We know how to value real estate, but we don't know how to value ourselves.
It's I don't know why we're like that.
Spot on. I think it had, not that I want to interview myself, but I think it has more to do with appraisers are great technicians. They love going back and figuring out the magic of value and all the research and the roads it takes you down.
Hmm.
I don't think they're very good business people because
Yeah,
business people, it's not like you just drop the price just because you're nervous. That's
sure.
that's not the way you run a business. Any other challenges you see that going on?
Um, that would be the main one. I think the residential side probably has more challenges coming up than the commercial side, but I can't speak too much to that. Um, yeah, I would say mostly that's it.
And you're only on the commercial side?
Primarily on the commercial side. I'll sometimes do residential in terms of the litigation space, but that's a little bit different, I think.
Okay, cool. So where do we go from here?
Where do we
How do we
go from
improve
here?
stuff? So you're mentioning that the fees being low, talking about some younger generation coming in, that's slow. I would say those are two pretty significant issues.
Yeah,
How do we
and
fix them? How do we improve them?
well, we've started building better relationships with universities and college students. For many people, appraising is a second career. So if we can get more people, from the get-go, this is in my opinion, a great gig. You can work from anywhere. There's a ton of flexibility. If you want to take your kid to a soccer game or work out at noon or whatever, we're running on deadline. So there's a lot of flexibility. So I think that there is a lot of appeal. People just don't know about it. So we need a major like PR overhaul so that people are interested in becoming appraisers and people are interested in what appraisers do and they could then value, the work that we do. Real estate is the cornerstone of the economy. And then there's a small group of people who are unbiased. Yes, they're unbiased, who are responsible for keeping everything in check. And if we're not willing to pay more for that level of talent, then we're going to lose that talent. And um, the quality of that check to set like per se is going to also decrease.
Yeah, 100% agree about we need the PR overhaul. And if you look at how people get in industry, sometimes it's random, but so how did you get into appraising? What was your journey? What did that look like?
My dad was involved with real estate and got an appraisal at some point and was like after I graduated, I wanted to get involved in real estate also, but I didn't know what to do. And he recommended that I just get involved and learn how appraising is done, because no one understands real estate and its value better than an appraiser. So I started in that space. Honestly, I started just to learn and then leave and do something else, as many people do. But I do see a lot of long-term opportunity in this. And I like the work-life balance and the fact that a lot of young people honestly aren't doing it. So it's pretty promising for the future, although I would love to see more young people do it. And I stuck with it. So he just happened to have had to use appraisal in the past, and then that's how he knew about it.
Oh, but he was not an appraiser?
No, he was not an appraiser. He was in the self-storage space.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
So as you gone through the process as a career in valuation, anything surprised you? Stuff that was easier than you thought, harder than you thought?
Originally, what I thought would be difficult is getting accurate information to the physical aspects of a property. Obviously, because I'd never used public records before or any sort of aerial measurement tool. So the physical stuff is pretty easy. What's a lot harder is getting to the bottom of the story on different properties. We're submitting public records requests to different jurisdictions for building plans and reading through pages and pages of zoning amendments. So that level of research I didn't really see coming, but it is really rewarding, I will say. And also, another thing I didn't know is that there is a type of role in appraising that can suit anyone. So whether you want to work like alone at a one-person shop, you can do that. With a small team, you can do that. If you want to go corporate, you can do that. So I didn't know all the options, and I've tried a little bit of everything. So I'm really glad that I've had the opportunity to do all those things while still sticking with the same job and moving forward in that sense.
Okay, cool. And you mentioned the industry could use a PR overhaul. What would you promote? I mean, I think you're getting to showing people that it can be a very flexible career, but how would you go about doing that? What would that look like to get that message out there?
To get that message out there, well, there are two things. In addition to it being a flexible career, um, you've heard people say I'm just an appraiser, and it's such a derogatory way to explain what we do. I don't think what we're doing is that different from, an accountant or an attorney or other white collar professionals. There's a ton of education that we have to do. Getting my MAI was essentially like a second degree. So I would really push the fact that this is like, while it is flexible, the job itself is not necessarily any less serious than something like that. So you kind of get the best of both worlds in that sense.
It's funny you say that. I'm just an appraiser. That does drive me crazy because,
Right?
appraisers, and I can speak for the commercial world, typically they're the smartest people in the room when it comes to CRE, but
Hmm.
nobody knows it, or they used to know it and they forgot, right?
Yeah. Everyone is so quiet. I don't get it.
Why are they so quiet?
I think the job attracts a lot of shy people because you do have the opportunity to work alone and really not interact with others. But if you go to any like AI events and different groups, you'll find a lot of extroverts as well.
Cool, cool. So any other topics you want to chat about?
Not really, just that if there is any local group, whether it's through AI or, Ascend Appraisers, for example, or the Women's Initiative through AI, like there's so many different groups and a place for everyone. And it's really, really beneficial to interact with other appraisers and see what they're going through and give each other ideas. So if you can get involved locally, you absolutely should.
One thing I want to circle back and just, looking at your guys' website, I'm going to guess you guys have great culture.
Yeah, we really do.
Do you want to talk
It's
about that? Because I think culture seems like a mysterious word for most appraisal firms. And I'm not talking about the nationals or regionals, but if you have less than 20 employees, how would you describe culture and why does it matter? And
our culture. One of the things that makes it really great is that everyone at the company is super accessible at all times. So there's no levels in terms of like asking this manager first and that person. Like you can message anyone at any time and they'll respond very quickly. So that's one thing that helps keep things fluid. We also don't really have many strict protocols in place, and that really helps us adapt quickly to any sort of changes, hire as we need, and move someone to a different department if they want to do that. It's really not that strict. So that really helps us. Also, we are for the most part remote. So once a month we'll meet up in the city and go out to dinner and grab drinks and things like that. And that really helps keep everyone, friendly with each other. We're on Teams all day speaking with each other, but hanging out once a month is different.
Nice. Well, Nora, I definitely appreciate you joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks.